This is the Smoked Debrief. Light up, lock in, and let's get to it.
Hey, I'm Jim. I'm Hollywood. This is the Smoked Debrief. What you got today, Hollywood? Today, we are going to smoke a Project 40 Alec Bradley Maduro experimental series. I feel like I'm like at Los Alamos, and we're trying to create the weapon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's do it.
The description about this cigar is so wild, I'm going to have to read it all.
Let's hear it, bro.
Project 40 goes dark. Project 40 has probably impacted your life without you even realizing it. Basically, Project 40 is based on the concept that 50% of your happiness comes from genetics. 10% is based on circumstance. The remaining 40% of all of it depends on your outlook and mindset. The goal being to find how a product can have a positive impact on your mind and body and improve your happiness and comfort overall. I feel like I should be reading this in a Rod Serling voice. We all know that cigar is a relaxing activity that brings people together and help create a sense of comfort and mental well-being. So it was only natural that Alan Rubin of Alec Bradley would apply this concept to cigars. Enter Project 40 Maduro. For this version, a delicious Mexican San Andreas wrapper uses the same Brazilian Habano binder and Nicaraguan filler blend of the original Project 40, taking the flavor profile up a notch with smooth, peppery notes and the natural sweetness that Maduro cigars are known for. Dressed in a maroon and gold color scheme, this edition distinguished itself from its predecessor in looks. It's sure to be a hit like the 1983 Project 40. The Maduro extension is going to go fast. Go on, take a walk on the dark side and enhance your 40%. Grab a box today.
I would like to point out how perfect this Coke that I just poured, because the refrigerator is perfectly set.
It's got ice in it, doesn't it?
Give it a little bit of ice.
And I'm a notorious champagne drinker.
Cold Coke is so good.
I love champagne, but I only love champagne when it is just about to turn icy, so that it's ice cold.
Not a big champagne guy.
I'm a champagne guy.
I wouldn't turn down a little bit.
Well, the thing I like about champagne is true champagne only comes from France. It comes from the Champagne region of France.
We're not talking about antifreeze.
We're not talking about Asti Spumante, which is a cheap knockoff. This is like re-entering. This is like a capsule entering from outer space. Look at that. And you lose radio contact for a while.
This is why we don't have any fuel left in our lighter, folks.
Because I do capsule re-entry. There's that people out there going, oh my God, he's burning the tip of that cigar. What a jackass.
They're right. They're on their keyboard.
Somebody call out. Right. Watch this. Watch. Are you watching? I have not cut the cigar.
I thought you were sucking kind of hard there, bro. That cigar is smoking itself.
This is like something from Los Alamos. That was crazy talk right there. I mean, that was crazy.
Just throw that anywhere. Pretty good. I don't know if I would want to follow it up with that Hemingway.
No, this is pretty strong. Not that the Hemingway wasn't full of tasty, delicious goodness.
Yeah, this is a little spicy.
Which is what I like. Have you ever smoked a La Jolla de Nicaragua?
Didn't we smoke a Hoya? No, never mind.
No, so I'll give us a couple of La Jolla de Nicaraguas. They're pretty freaking fierce.
Okay.
They're what I smoke when it's like 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm on the set and I need to wake the hell up.
So we've got some more pictures up on our wall here from my younger days.
Tell us about the one with B.B. King in it.
Well, this is Albert King, B.B. King, Eric Clapton, and Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I love the shit out of that picture. And so I got the file and printed it up. I have my Rob Zombie down here when I met him and got his autograph. Got a picture of him coming off the tour bus. Nikki Sixx. I used to do a bunch of work for JVC back in the day, and Nikki Sixx was sponsored by them when he was doing some hot rods. He was married to a lady. Her name was Donna DeErico, she had some kind of makeup line or something. She was a swimsuit model, but she had a makeup line too. They were married at the time, and so we got to meet Nikki Sixx. Really cool. I'll never forget, when I started talking to him about that, and I said, "Man, your music got me through Fort Benning. We're on the cattle car, and we started singing Home Sweet Home and stuff like that." And I said it was all Motley Crue that we would be singing on the cattle car. It was,
but for the viewers at home,
yeah, it was a cow trailer fully enclosed, and had a side door, and
on a train.
no, it was hauled by a truck,
Tractor
trailer, and we would go from one spot to another when they wanted to take us out in the field by loaded up on that cow truck. And I think someone is in there now, and they still do that. I'm sure they still do.
I don't know, buddy.
Somebody said, "Oh my God, they're treating us like cows. I didn't join up to be treated like a cow."
This is a spicy smoke. I like it.
It is good. Project 40, Alec Bradley, Maduro.
What's the craziest thing you did when you were in the military?
Can't talk about that. It's classified.
You were in the Army.
The craziest thing?
You were in the Army, Jim. How classified could it be?
We did some crazy shit. When I was on Border Patrol,
and that's not the border of U.S. and Mexico.
No, this is the East and West German border. I think this was the Czechoslovakian border in West Germany.
During the Cold War, there was an East and Western Berlin and a big wall. And then there was a separation between Germany, West Germany and East Germany. And then there were countries like Czechoslovakia and
Eastern Bloc.
Poland and that you could not go into because they were ran by the Soviets, right?
And but there wasn't a
official fence, yeah.
Like little border markers.
And on one side was 1 million American troops. On the other side was like 3 million Russian troops and tanks, right?
Yeah. And we had the 1K zone.
1 kilometer?
Yeah. And then the 50-meter zone, it was no man's land. But there was one group of police, the Bundesgrenzschutz, who were authorized to go from one side to the other. They didn't have to radio and get permission. They were authorized to go back and forth.
And who were they from?
I don't know. I don't know where they were.
Were they East or West German?
I think they were German. But they had their little MP5s. They were set. And when we were on patrol with them, it was 3 of us in a Jeep. And then the BGS, Bundesgrenzschutz, had their own little armored car. And we're just come out, we're in the snow, and I'm like,
what was your job? And what were you there for?
Just Border Patrol. It was Reforger 1987, where all of NATO forces come over to Europe, and we do war games. And at this time, our platoon was assigned to do Border Patrol. So we weren't involved in Reforger activities. We were just Border Patrol. And it was funny because one of our assignments one day was we were to go to the different encampments and make sure there weren't any cold weather entries, because that was the coldest winter on record at that time. It was extremely cold, and snow was up to your knees, and it was crazy. And, I ended up getting frostbite, but we got out on this, I'm like, what are we going to do? Because there was it's so beautiful though. It's like being up in the mountains, and snow's everywhere, and the pine trees, it's all green and just beautiful.
Did you have snowshoes, or were you around in boots?
We had the Mickey Mouse. Well, they were the pressurized ones.
Yeah, with the little air thing.
Yeah. And
did you fill them up with air?
I think depending on the altitude, you would relieve the pressure. They never, they just.
Oh, that's why, because, yeah.
We had those, and of course we had our BDUs under it, and then we had white coverings that went over that. And I'm asking the guy, where are we going? He's like, we go up here and get in the cabin and get warm. And it's like, yeah, right. Well, sure enough, we humped probably a mile or 2 miles up, And here was this little 2-man cabin that had a stack of firewood and a fireplace and everything. And the BGS guy said, told us, they said, go on and get in. And they stoked the fire and got the fire going and everything. So we're just sitting there. It's like a little sauna out in the woods. And we sat in there for a little while, got warm, and then humped on back. And we got to this one section of fence. I think we had got back over. I still think it was part of Czechoslovakia. But there was this one
Which was
section,
ran by the Soviets then.
and we got to this one section, and there was somebody in the 50-meter zone who wasn't supposed to be. And we didn't know. And the BGS guys didn't know. They didn't know what the hell was going on. So we immediately, it was like we put ourselves on alert. And the BGS guys are locking and loading. They're ready. And we didn't have ammo. We had boxes in the Jeep that were banded. We couldn't open them. So we're radioing in, permission to, pop the box. So they called, they said, hold, stand by. So we're like, just waiting. All of a sudden, here comes this. It wasn't a Hind. It was a Russian chopper. Comes over. So he's on their side, just hovering. Well, then here comes an Apache from our side. Comes over there, and it wasn't a Hind. I keep saying Hind, but it was not a Hind. It wasn't the big, like Rambo 3 or whatever. But it was just a Russian armed. And they're both like, our little Jeep is down here, and the BGS guys are down here. And that whoever was on the other side of the fence there was people coming after him on the Russian side. They were coming after. And those helicopters were just mirroring each other, just moving back and forth. They go up and down, we're ready. And then the Soviets ended up grabbing whoever it was. I think it was just some old man or something. And then they radio us, stand down. And I think that was called, we had these terms that they had taught us for the border. I think that was called a frag rep when there's a violation of the 50 meters zone.
Not an incursion.
Yeah.
It's a great smoke.
It is. So that was probably the craziest moment. We did get stuck in the Jeep out in a pasture. And I don't know if we were on the right side of the border, because this was where we were to go, and our coordinates were there were stone markers on the ground, and they only stuck up.
They did stick up in the snow?
Yeah, well, no. So we had to go, and we're trying to map it because we didn't have GPS and shit back then.
Fuck.
So we're trying to map the coordinates, and we're in this little area, so we're just like kicking the snow around. We finally found one. And so we hit that. Then we started leaving, and we just started driving because it was this open pasture. We just kept driving, and the Jeep got stuck. This was a Willys, the old Willys Jeep.
Well, that's from like 1945.
Yeah, and it got stuck. And so we're like, fuck. So there was this farmer. You see, Nordic skiers. That's how they stayed fit. They would, so
out in the middle of nowhere?
Out in the middle of nowhere. So we were like, hey, and the guy, he was the farmer. That was his land. So here he comes, and he gets his tractor and pulls us out. And then we went on our way. And we're like, do we report that? And I remember the sergeant that was with it, who was like, no, because I don't know what side of the border we were on. We're not telling nobody shit. Back then, you would have gotten some serious trouble.
Oh, hell yeah.
The other side could shoot you, and nothing. What's going to happen?
So you're out there all the time with no ammo?
We had ammo, but it's banded, and you couldn't open it. That was the Cold War. It was just crazy that some of the stuff. We're sitting there and like, we had all of our LBE, our load bearing equipment, and their pouches with you had your magazines. You had 3 magazines in each pouch. And
what weapon?
M16. Well, when I was in basic, it was the A1. When I got to Germany, It was the A2. And you're sitting there and it's like, what the hell's the point? Why are we even, because our magazines were empty. Even when we were pulling guard duty or something, we go out, we get inspected. You ain't got no damn bullets.
So you would have to break open the case.
And then
Green cases?
There might have been, we might have had maybe 300-400 rounds of 5.56.
But then you had to load your mags?
Yeah, we had to load our mags. And
Fuck that!
so it was just crazy.
That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
That was the Cold War, bro.
Couldn't trust no 19-year-old.
You weren't you hauling blanks when you were flying? Did you have blanks?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Have you ever seen that movie with Roy Scheider called The Fourth War?
No.
Jurgen, you've never seen it, really? Jurgen
Prochnow?
Roy Scheider. Roy Scheider plays this old like colonel who they're trying to boot him out, but he was a war hero, so they couldn't kick him out. So they put him in charge of this outpost, and they're out doing exercises and stuff. And the Russian Soviet on the other side are out there too. And something happens to Roy Scheider, like throws a snowball at the commander on the Russian side and starts shit with him. And it just starts escalating that whole movie. And then he ends up getting in his stealth gear and shit and going over to sneaks into the Soviet camp and fucks their shit, starts blowing up all their equipment and stuff. And it was during the Cold War. It's a good movie, though. It was called The Fourth War.
I'll watch it. You ever seen Dr. Strangelove?
Slim Pickens rides that bomb.
The procedures and shit in that movie, so realistic. They had somebody from a B-52 crew.
Wasn't it Slim Pickens? Wasn't he?
I don't believe he was a pilot.
I know he was a veteran.
Yeah, but I don't think he flew the B-52. But whoever was in that movie, whoever advised that movie, it was dead on, Jim. Dead the fuck on.
That's cool.
And there's one thing very interesting about that movie. Next time you watch it, when Slim Pickens is going through the box of all the shit they have, one Soviet American dictionary,
one genuine Soviet dictionary.
He says in the movie, a fella could have a pretty good time in Vegas with this. But that's not what he says. He says, if you watch, he says a pretty good time in Dallas. But this was right after Kennedy was killed. So they dubbed over it, and he says Vegas in the movie.
That's interesting.
They might harpoon us, but they sure as hell ain't going to shoot us down. What a great movie.
Slim Pickens. He was so good. Especially in 1941.
He was also in Blazing Saddles.
Yes. Can we get some more beans, Mr. Taggart? I'd say you had enough. Only Mel Brooks could get away with that shit.
Only Mel Brooks could get away with that.
He's still alive. He is so damn funny. You like Don Rickles?
He's the best.
Have you seen his documentary called Mr. Warren?
No.
So damn good.
Nobody talks shit about other people more than...
In the documentary, it's all these comedians that are all like, if you have not been insulted by Don Rickles, you have not made it. Because he
insults Julia Roberts. If somebody is something or other, he's like, I live right down the street from Julia Roberts. Has she come by and seen me? No. And then she's laughing, and everything. And he goes, I don't know why. He goes, and she speaks and goes like, you're never home. He goes, Julia, you don't have any lines. Quiet.
When he'd be on Johnny Carson and Frank Sinatra's on there, and oh my Lord, just the stories. Because I think he was the only person who could give Frank Sinatra shit and get away with it.
Yeah, I agree.
But he was so funny. And you watch his stuff and it's like, how does he get away with that? And nobody else will get away with it, but Don Rickles
He talks some serious shit.
And he'd be in the crowd in that on the show, they'd show clips of his performances. And he looks down, he's like, I fought your guy in the war. Shit. It's so damn funny. It's like, is that your wife? Only he could get away with that shit. So damn funny. I guess Dave Chappelle.
Yep.
is probably the same. I mean, he doesn't really insult anybody like that, but he could probably get away with it.
Well, his comedy is the most on the edge. Yeah. He's not afraid to talk about anybody. I mean, for fuck's sake, he gave up $50 million because Netflix or HBO wanted him to not talk about something. And he's like,
not going to happen. Have you ever watched Kill Tony? It's every Monday at Joe Rogan's comedy club in Texas. Tony Hinchcliffe has Kill Tony, and they have...
Who's Tony Hinchcliffe?
The comedian. He was the comedian who called Puerto Rico garbage during the speech.
Oh, really?
Republican. Anyway, he's funny as shit. But he has this show, and he has people sign up. They come to the club, and they sign up, and he pulls their name out of a bucket, and they get 1 minute. They get to come up and do their act and do 1 minute, and then he interviews them. And he has like a little panel, like 3 people.
Oh, that's cool.
Like Joe Rogan. Dude, it's freaking hilarious. And he's, I think Courtney told me this morning that Kill Tony is supposed to be going to Netflix, which is like a $50 or $60 million deal for him. The dude is hilarious. And he is, did you watch Tom Brady roast?
No.
Okay, Tony Hinchcliffe, by far, is the greatest roast comedian
really
ever. Oh, he's just hilarious, and he writes most everybody else's stuff too. The Tom Brady roast, you gotta watch that. It is hilarious, man.
I heard it went bad.
Oh, it went bad for Kim Kardashian.
Oh, it did,
because they were all just giving her hell. Even Tony Hinchcliffe.
She was there?
Yeah, she was there.
And they just decided to pick on her?
Well, I mean, you're there. She's famous.
Oh, they weren't just picking on Tom Brady.
Well, you know, they kind of rag each other the whole time.
Right.
He come out there and he gave Tom Brady some shit. And then that comedian, Nikki
Haley.
Is it Nick? No, it's not Haley.
Maybe she's a congresswoman.
She came out there and she was good too. That whole show was great. Even Tom Brady started roasting people, you know, when he got up there to speak, and it was good.
Now he wants to come back.
Huh?
He wants to come back.
Who?
Tom Brady.
Yeah, you know, I saw things where he was practicing. His 40 is faster now than it was when he was.
You know why it's faster?
Wow.
Because he was unbelievable, well known as the slowest quarterback in the NFL when he came into the league.
Well, he's hit his 40s and now he's fast. I better enjoy that shit.
Bro.
You hit 48 and it's pew.
We have been smoking some great cigars.
Yeah.
Since I shamed you.
Yeah. This is a good cigar.
Have you seen any new movies? Do you still go to the theater?
It's got to be something. I think the last movie I saw at the theater was
Top Gun Maverick?
The Midway remake.
Did you see Top Gun Maverick at the theater?
On TV.
What? You're not an American.
I know. I might go see F1 in IMAX.
You better.
Because that would be...
You better, man. If you see that just at home, you're a loser. It's going to be so fucking loud.
Dude, when you get your iPad, okay? You put your earbuds in. You pull the covers up over your head where it's pitch black and all you see is the iPad. And you just lay there and watch it. You're in that movie.
I'm going to start a GoFundMe page for your senility.
Okay. You know, I used to do home theater. I used to build home theaters and shit.
Yeah, but you don't have one, do you?
I do not have one at home.
Have you ever had one?
When the kids still lived at the house, we did. And I remember when Goonies was released on DVD. And it's like, oh yeah, we had popcorn. Everybody we're just sitting there watching the Goonies in the living room.
Another movie I've never seen.
You really never seen the Goonies?
No.
Dude, it's so good.
I don't have any kids.
There's another movie called Monster Squad that is really good too. It's a kids movie. But
like I have seen no Disney films. Like, you know,
the older one, like the Shaggy DA.
No, like The Little Princess and Lauren. I've seen none of those.
You ain't missing nothing.
Like all these songs, these great songs that they supposedly are in these movies.
The circle of life.
Never seen it. Is that from Lion King?
This is a good smoke. Good choice, Hollywood.
Thank you, sir.
Nice.
Have you ever smoked a cigar I've given you where you haven't said, "Oh, this is a great cigar"? You have not.
No. That Hoyo de
Oh,
Monterey.
I got it. The haunting. So you need to send me a movie that I have to watch, and I'll send you a movie that you have to watch this week. So next week we can talk about them.
Awesome.
That way we'll both be able to talk about them and intelligently. Don't give me some ridiculous, silly frickin' movie to watch.
I won't.
This cigar definitely has some strength to it. Have you seen The Brutalist yet?
No, that's one of the new movies.
That's the movie I want you to watch for next
Okay.
week, The Brutalist. It's on Netflix, I think, or on Max, maybe.
Have you seen the original Day of the Jackal?
Not the Bruce Willis one, right?
No. That was the Jackal, Richard Gere.
I know.
The Day of the Jackal from 60.
I've seen it a long time ago.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind.
No, I'll watch it. I'll gladly watch a great movie.
Okay.
You ever seen 3 Days of the Condor?
Yep.
Great film.
I watched, that was about 2 months I watched that.
Marathon Man?
Yeah.
Another great movie.
Is it safe?
Where Dustin Hoffman getting his tooth drilled with no nose.
Laurence Olivier.
And Max von Sydow.
Laurence Olivier was the dentist.
Max von Sydow was the guy in Condor.
He's great. Then they did that. I think, was it called The Greatest Story Ever Told? And you had Max von Sydow played Jesus. Or was it Jesus of Nazareth? It was an older movie. But they had, at the end of it, after the crucifixion, John Wayne is the Roman soldier. And he's there after the crucifixion. This was truly the Son of God. That was his line. That was it.
That was John Wayne?
Yeah, it was John Wayne.
Listen good, Pilgrim. This was truly the Son of God. Do you sound like John Wayne?
Duh. You know it's John Wayne when he talks.
Uh-huh.
John Wayne was excellent too. His movies were great. The Searchers, such a good movie. The story is awesome, and it's true.
Yeah.
There's a book.
Oh, that's when he goes looking for the girl that was kidnapped by the Indians. Who was the other guy that went with John? Was that his son?
I can't. The actor?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't his son. No.
Was it?
Was it Jeffrey Hunter?
Hey Siri. Who was in the movie The Searchers?
But I read
The Searchers features John Wayne, Jeffrey Hunter, Natalie Wood, and others.
Natalie Wood was a wee girl before Robert Wagner killed her. Threw her off that boat.
Wasn't Christopher Walken there too?
No.
Hey Siri.
You're thinking of
who was on
that sci-fi movie.
Hey Siri. Who was on the boat with Robert Wagner and Natalie Wood?
When she died.
Here's an answer from TV Guide.
Robert Wagner was on the boat with his wife Natalie Wood, their friend Christopher Walken.
It was when they were filming that.
And Captain
movie.
Dennis Davern.
But The Searchers, there's a book called Empire of the Summer Moon. And it's about, I want to make sure I get it right because it's a fantastic book. Hey Siri, what is the book Empire of the Summer Moon about?
Are you pretending that you can read?
Okay. Empire of the Summer Moon by S.C. Gwynn is a historical account of the 40-year war for control over American West between white settlers and Comanche Indians. Kawana Parker. That Kawana Parker is the son of the real woman who was taken that The Searchers was written about. It was his mother's story that The Searchers was based on.
No shit.
No shit. And
Empire of the Summer Moon.
Empire of the Summer Moon. Awesome book. And it talks about how the Comanches, they were so good. They were warriors. That's all they did. And the reason that they kidnapped women and children is because they were horse soldiers and they were sterile because they rode horses all the damn time. So they weren't able to bear children. They impregnate women. So they kidnapped.
Are you talking out of your ass right now, or is this true?
I'm not. It's true. I'm not saying all of more sterile. But they said that that was an issue because they were horse soldiers and they were constantly they lived to fight, and they wouldn't take women. They wouldn't take on a wife, or they would take several. They would kidnap them, and some of them they were raped and murdered and everything. They were horrible,
Brutal.
but some of them they kept. And Kawana Parker's mother was the character, the real person from the Searchers. They found her and brought her back after she had already bore children and everything. They found her and brought her back, and she went back. But Kawana Parker, there was a cavalry soldier, maybe it was the Texas Ranger. There was the one man who was put in charge of hunting the Comanche. I can't remember. He had an odd, like, one eye or two face. He had a nickname, but he's responsible for Colt. Colt had the revolver, they had the pistol and everything.
The Peacemaker.
And they were going out of business because nobody was buying them. Nobody was buying their pistols. Well, all of a sudden, the Texas Rangers and all this stuff, they figured, we can't hunt these Comanches and these Indians with, a rod and
ball and cap
and stuff. We need something else. They started ordering Colt pistols. Well, that pulled Colt out of bankruptcy because, at the time, nobody was buying them. But this one, he was a colonel or a general or something. Bad Hand. That was his name, Bad Hand, because his hand was screwed up from a battle. But
not his face.
Not his face.
You were the worst storyteller.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to remember the story. It's been a while since I read the book. But he started studying the Comanche and how they rode horses and stuff. And he realized a Comanche can run through on his horse through a camp, and he could kill half a dozen people before they ever knew what the hell happened. Because Comanches, they were one with their horse. They would drop down and they could shoot arrows and stuff like that, while riding full gallop with a horse. And I think it was proven, like, they can fire 60 or some arrows in a minute while galloping at full pace on a horse and stuff like that. Some archer approved it, but he started looking and he said, we need to change our battle tactics. Instead of us marching in, he formed small groups and they would sneak in off of the horses and stuff. And so his tactics worked. Kawana Parker, he lived, and I think he died of old age, but it was in Texas. I think it was in Texas. He became real famous. He had land and everything. It was a great story. I saw the guy on Joe Rogan talking about the book, and I was like, okay, I'm going to have to get that book. So I got it. It's been years ago. But the book is so damn good. It will make a great movie.
Go on. Grandpa?
I just got texted a question that I'm supposed to ask you.
I hope it's naughty.
It says, ask Hollywood how being a part of the movie The Insider was, or was it inside her? LOL.
From your wife?
No, it's from Courtney.
Does your daughter have a crush on me?
She might. I don't know.
I could marry her, and then I could inherit the coffee empire. I wouldn't change a thing. That's my favorite movie I've worked on.
The Insider. Was it The Insider?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't
Inside.
No, it was Insider.
One with Russell Crowe.
It was about the insider that worked for the tobacco industry.
Okay, Russell Crowe.
Yes,
okay.
That became a whistleblower.
Was Dustin Hoffman in that one?
No, Al Pacino.
Yeah, sorry.
Captain Von Trapp.
I remember the movie.
That just shows how great of a filmmaker Michael Mann is, because it was a movie about the fucking tobacco industry, and it was interesting as shit.
Michael Mann is.
So we scouted for that movie. We went to the Bahamas because there's a scene where Al Pacino's on vacation with his wife. He has that phone call out in the water, where he's trying to get good cell signal. So we scouted this location. Okay, found this beach on this deserted island. It had fire trees. If you rubbed up against the tree and it got on you, your hands would blister. They were nasty. We went on the scout. Michael Mann's like, okay, let's build the house here. Let's build it here. They built a whole fucking house on this beach in the Bahamas.
That's crazy.
We come back 6 months later. There's been a hurricane, and the beach has totally changed. And Michael Mann is looking around, because you scout just before you shoot. And he turns to Peter Jan Brugger, who's the producer, and goes, "Peter, I think the house needs to be down there." 1,000 yards down the beach. Peter puts his arm around Michael, and they go walking off, and they walk down there, and they're there for an hour. And we're just fucking standing there, like 20 of us, just fucking standing there. And they come walking back, and Michael goes, "This will be okay."
What do you think he told him? It comes out of your end.
I'm sure that's what he told him. I mean,
Michael Mann is the first director that I took an interest in because of Miami Vice. And when I was in Georgia, Fort Benning, and Miami Vice was still running, and I would try my damnedest. I was transitioning. I just got through with AIT.
What's AIT?
Advanced Infantry Training. Or Advanced Individual, I don't know. It was infantry school. And there was...
Which came after boot camp.
Yeah. There was a 2 or 3 week period where I had gotten my orders, but I didn't leave. So I was just at this...
Casual status.
I was in these barracks. And we still had to work, but then after 5 o'clock, you're done. And I would get a bus. As soon as we got dismissed, I would try to catch the damn bus to take me to the NCO club so we could watch TV, because that was the only place that had a TV, and I was doing my damnedest trying to get there and just in time to watch Miami Vice. I love that show. It was so damn good.
And the remake was fucking great. Michael Mann directed that.
My only issue is I don't think Sonny Crockett would drink a mojito. Jack and Coke, maybe. Not a mojito. And that set the tone for me. Because I was like, are you serious? Sonny Crockett is not going to walk into a damn bar and order a mojito. I don't give a shit if Fidel Castro squeezed those limes between his thighs. Sonny Crockett does not drink a mojito. I think Don Johnson would agree with me.
2000, Sonny Crockett would have probably drank a mojito. Who was that? Was it Colin Farrell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good actor. Michael Mann, the way, Heat.
Dude, so we're going to do that big gun battle on the street, right?
That was so awesome.
Once again, we'd scouted. So we had lit the scene from the right side of the street, like 2,000 feet of street we had lit. And we had all these 18Ks lined up, big, huge lights. He showed up.
Who, Michael Mann showed up?
Showed up to shoot.
Oh, you should, okay.
Because we were the rigging crew on that. I was a rigging crew on that.
Yeah.
We put all the stuff in advance. And they called us up and said, move everything to the other side of the street. Because he decided he wanted to shoot on the other sidewalk.
That's crazy.
Are you looking at his movies?
His style, the style of his filming is so good. I
mean, look at the list of movies he has done. Hey Siri, what movies has Michael Mann directed?
Do you know?
Here's an answer from IMDb and Wikipedia.
Thief, Manhunter, Last of the Mohicans,
fucking
Heat,
awesome.
The Insider. Stop, Siri, go back. Ali. Hey Siri, what are the movies Michael Mann has directed?
Do you want me to use ChatGPT to answer that?
No.
No problem, I won't.
Hey Siri, what movies has Michael Mann directed?
Here's an answer from IMDb.
But every movie he's done.
He's never done a bad movie. He wrote Heat 2, the book.
They're talking about doing it.
And they should. God, they should. I don't know if, De Niro needs to be in it.
You know that
De Niro
he did Ferrari.
Yeah, that was a great. Have you seen it?
Public Enemies.
Have you seen Ferrari?
No.
Bro.
There's a movie. Hey Siri, what is the movie Just Like Heat that was done before Heat?
Do you want me to use ChatGPT to answer that?
Sure. I'll have to look it up. They did a movie.
Did you know? Do you watch Law and Order? Dick Wolf, he wrote all those.
Yeah.
Do you know where he got his start?
Porn?
Miami Vice. He was a writer on.
LA Takedown was done in 1989. The script is almost exactly like Heat. You should watch it.
LA Takedown?
LA Takedown. Dick Wolf also did a show called U.S. Customs Classified.
Really?
That I did a ton of lighting on. And then that's where I met Eddie Barbini, who eventually did Arrest and Trial, which was the reenactment version of Law and Order. You know how Law and Order had the law in the beginning and the court at the end?
Yeah.
So we did a reenactment version of that called Arrest and Trial, hosted by Brian Denny.
Bestseller. The movie he was in called Bestseller. That was a good movie. And then there was one he did where he was a cop, LA cops, and they were, was it LA's Finest or something? They were kind of crooked. They were more vigilante than cop. But that was
it a movie?
It was a movie.
Are you talking? Did it have?
I think it had Bill Paxton in it.
Oh no, I was thinking of the ship. I was thinking of Mulholland Falls.
No.
You ever seen Mulholland Falls?
Yeah, Nick Nolte.
Nick Nolte.
Hey Siri, what movie was Brian Dennehy in when he played a cop?
Not a chance. Not a chance. Too vague.
Oh, Righteous Kill.
This was an excellent cigar.
And Courtney pulled up your
IMDb.
I said there's several.
Several what?
IMDb pages for you.
Well, there's my technician directing acting page. Then there's my producing page.
I told her this is a good smoke. Yeah, Michael, man. I don't think I've ever seen a movie that he did that I didn't like. It could be totally off the wall subject that I have no interest in, but Michael Mann will make that shit interesting.
Ali's probably my least favorite.
I agree on that one. But he has a style. Like Manhunter was great.
That was the original Hannibal Lecter movie.
But he also did, there was a movie called Band of the Hand that he did that was filmed in Miami. And it was pretty cool. It was a good movie. I can't remember who was in it though.
Was it a crime?
Hey Siri.
Was it a crime movie?
Who was in the movie Band of the Hand? Stephen Lang, Michael Carmine, Lauren Holly, John Cameron Mitchell, James Remar, Danny Quinn, Leon Robinson, Lawrence Fishburne.
Lauren Holly and Fishburne are the only ones I know. That was Jim Carrey's wife for a while.
Stephen Lang is the guy who played the sergeant on what's that James Cameron movie? Avatar. You know, the one with the scar. That's Stephen
is that
Lang.
right?
It's good smoke, Hollywood.
It is. It's pretty strong.
It is. It's still a little spicy.
That with the spiced rum I got going on, I may have to take a nap before I head back.
Go outside, I'll hose you off. Have you seen the original Ocean's 11?
No.
The original with Frank Sinatra.
Was that Sinatra, right?
Yeah, and it was filmed on the strip inside the casino and everything. They were filming it, and then it would be time for one of them to perform, so they would go and perform, and then they would start filming again. Because Sinatra got away with a lot of shit.
Oh yeah.
But it's given when it was filmed, and it's just a buddy movie where these guys they could afford to do it, so they did it. It's still a good movie.
Well, Sinatra had a home in Palm Springs. Kennedy was supposed to come and stay at.
Yeah, and he did. It made him mad.
And it made him mad. I mean, he built this place, pretty much
just for
Kennedy.
Can you imagine that? I mean, I used to, when I first went to Vegas, that was what I wanted to. I wanted to go to the places where the Rat Pack had done. Of course, the Venetian is where the Sands was. And I think there's a plaque when you're going in the Venetian, there's one grand hallway. And I think there's a plaque on the wall that says something about this is where the stage was when the Sands was here.
I don't think any of the old casinos on the Strip are left now.
The Tropicana was just
gone now.
Yeah. They had a mafia museum.
There's still
at the bottom of the Tropicana.
Well, there's still a mafia museum now.
Oh, really? They might have moved it then.
Goodman, Oscar. He built it.
Yeah.
His wife became
mayor. He knows where the bodies are buried.
His wife became mayor.
Oh, really? Keeping it in the family. That was casino. All that stuff. What was that one? Warren Beatty was in Bugsy, where it shows him, he's going and doing the casino and there's like nothing there. People thought he was just nuts. And I think he ended up being nuts. Had that vision. I think you have to be nuts a little bit to have a vision like. But you go to Vegas now, and it's whereas it used to be, it was like rich men or moguls in a pissing contest with each other to see who could outdo the other. Didn't Howard Hughes build a bunch of stuff? And now you go, and it's like all corporations in a pissing contest, and they don't care. I mean, they're just knock whatever down. They don't care. We used to have a timeshare at the Polo Towers, which is where a casino bar scene was filmed. And we carried out one because we went every year, so it made sense. I used to love going to Vegas. It's such a good time.
There's still some great places in Vegas.
I've got
off
a
the
list.
strip that have been there forever. One is called Capo's. It's an Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
Have you been there?
Isn't it like clean? Like there's nothing.
You have to knock on the
outside?
door and they slide a thing open and they bring you inside. And then the Golden Steer is
that's like the best
steakhouse. Yep.
I've got a list of the off the strip places. I told Carrie, I said, when we go back, we're going to have to try these places. So I had when we would go, I had a friend who was, he was the vice president of AudioVox. And, they're huge. They made a lot of, I think they made most of, after all the Toyota electronics, alarm systems,
oh, really?
Sentries and stuff. And they made stereos and home stuff. And he came down to visit us one year, and we just kind of clicked. We just got to be good buddies. And he would come to the racetrack and watch me race and stuff. And he'd always call, hey, buddy, just checking in. He was from New York. No, it's from New Jersey. And as soon as we would get to Vegas, I would hit him up. I had my little Motorola Razor, and I'd hit him up. Hey, Paul, we're here. And we'd go over to the AudioVox booth, and he would come down. The AudioVox had their booth, the trade show, their booth had like 3 stories where they had offices and stuff because the big bigs would be in there making deals and stuff. And he would come down out of the offices and he would say, hey, I got a couple of hours. I still got to stay here. I've got some meetings. But he said, I'm going to hit you up. He said, I've got a great place for them to go to. And everything was on him. And he'd whip out that Amex, and he would come into town, and he'd like, all right, let's go get some tequila. So we'd have to go to La Fiesta, which is this good little Mexican restaurant on the main drag in Burlington. And at that time, that was the only decent Mexican joint. And we'd go in there and we'd sit at the bar, we'd get tacos and drink tequila. And he always paid. He was such a nice man. I'm going to have to hit him up because it's been a while since I've talked to him.
When did you quit going to the show?
It got to where there wasn't any advantage. And I went, honestly, in 2008, when the bottom fell out, I got audited by the IRS, and I liquidated everything. I had investments and everything, and I liquidated everything to pay to defend myself in that audit. And it was so ridiculous because, they didn't find anything for the year that they were looking, so they decided to look at the next year and then the next year. The advice I was given was don't file a tax return while you're under audit. So after the audit was over, I had like 3 years of tax returns that I had to file. Everything's all done now, but what they got me for was when I would do a big job for a client, I would go in and I would give them an estimate and show them the plan and everything and how much it was going to be. And then I would say, I'm going to need X amount of dollars up front to get started. Because I would not do a big job without getting a deposit. I want a commitment from them. And so what it was my register program. When a customer would give me a deposit, I would put it in the register program and print a receipt but because it was a receipt from that quote, the job wasn't finished. So the money was considered unearned income. And that's what that's what the IRS finally came out and said, you should have reported that money when you got it. And my argument was the Carolina Panthers pre-sale tickets, and the money for those pre-sale tickets is called unearned income, and it's not counted until that ticket gets used for that whatever game. But it didn't work. So
maybe there'll be no more income tax.
and get this shit.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. The agent who came to the store to do the audit went to high school with my cousin, and I was at a family reunion, and my cousin comes over to me and he said, "Son, I hear you're being audited." And I'm like, "Really? How did you find out about that?" He said, "That your auditor is one of my high school buddies." And I was like, "Really?" Well, he just violated my privacy rights. So that was one of the things we used. I had
no shit.
Yeah, I had an attorney in Greensboro, Tuggle and Duggins, and I told them, and they were like, "Okay, we're going to keep that on the back burner. We'll have that." And I was like, "Okay." We still had to pay a bunch, but then, oh my God, my uncle, who was the father of that particular cousin, he passed away, and I was asked to be his pallbearer, or one of his pallbearers. So I get there, get to the church, and lo and behold, there's that little weasel of IRS man. He's another pallbearer, and we're all.
Did he recognize you?
I don't think so. Right at first,
did you punch him?
I certainly recognize him. Well, I'm getting to a funny thing, but my other cousins were the other pallbearers, and we're all talking. Hey, Jimmy, and I hadn't seen him in a long time. But, hey, Jimmy, how you doing? So I saw him. I said, "You still working for the IRS?" And everybody got quiet, and they're all like, "Shoo," and they're looking at him, and he's like 5'6", shorter than everybody. My cousins are like 6'2", 6'3".
Did they know you'd had IRS trouble?
No. My one cousin, Lynn, he turned around, he said, "Really, is IRS?" I said, "Yeah, he audited me." And that nobody said a word to that guy the whole rest of the time. And I'm behind him, holding the casket. Well, we're walking because he's shorter than the rest of us. So
you're as high as you can.
I raise up, and he's doing his best to try to carry that thing. My Lord, I could not believe that. But that's why we didn't. I just couldn't afford to after that, because it just killed us. I paid an attorney to do it the first year, but then they hit us for the second year, and it's like I can't afford to pay my accountant to do that. And so we just kept on, and I had to get a negotiator, a guy who I found him in High Point. He used to work for the IRS, but now he was a professional negotiator, and went back and forth, and he got it negotiated down, and we got a pretty good settlement. We settled with the IRS. It was pretty good. If you have to do something, I think we made out okay. Shouldn't have been audited in the first place, but it was all right. That's how you learn. The government will fuck you.
Not only does the Smoked Debrief give you advice on smoking great cigars, we also give you great life lessons and life advice.
Yes. Don't take credit cards or checks. Strictly cash forever.
This has been the Smoked Debrief. I'm Hollywood.
I'm Jim.